Hola mi gente, it's GameBoyZero and I'm so excited to talk about some of my favorite solid handheld emulators. I got my coffee, I got my boy Chucky. Vamos, let's go.
And here's your host, GameBoyZero.
Well, looks like we got a budget increase. Hey, really quick, if you enjoy my content, subscribe and ring that bell for notifications on my uploads. The Game Boy, one of the best handheld systems to ever grace our eyes and hands. It wasn't colorful, it wasn't bright, but we made the best of it. Trying our best at night, especially in car rides, to get a glimpse of that darn screen, or getting some weird third-party light that stuck out just so that we can see a game that we're playing. The things that we put on our Game Boy for the ultimate experience were just nuts. I mean, take a look at this. So in 2007, I started to get this itch. No, not that kind of itch. No, it was a retro itch, an itch to play retro games on a handheld device like this one. And that is when I discovered emulation. I had a collection of games at home that I just couldn't carry around all the time. So what was my device of choice? The T-Mobile Dash. I was able to load an emulator on there and play Super Mario Brothers. Until one day, it got stolen. Stolen by Eric. Fast forward to 2016 where I discovered the Raspberry Pi. And I was building and modding Game Boys. That's where I discovered the Pi Zero. That's where my name comes from, the GameBoyZero. And as you can see here, this was the Wild West of Game Boy modding. Just to play a little bit of some retro games, we wanted to play it on a Game Boy-like device. And this was it. This is what we did. So here's what we have left of a GameBoyZero, where you would modify different parts. This was before parts were available so that you can modify your Game Boy. We were taking things from different parts and just trying to Frankenstein a Game Boy system that allowed us to play retro games. And that's when I started my Instagram page, where I was able to show my progress and show my collection for all things retro. 2016 was awesome. We quickly built communities and shared tips with one another and on how we can better build our GameBoyZero. So as time progressed, you know, the parts and modding kits started to become more and more available. And the modding and emulation community became more and more robust. And it got to a point where you can actually emulate on an ATM. And quickly the romance of actually modifying and building a GameBoyZero, it kind of disappeared because more and more emulators started to come out and the amount was insane. And the biggest common issue was this: the emulators were becoming more affordable. I mean, to build a GameBoyZero, it was quite expensive. I mean, you can go on AliExpress and get an emulator for 10 bucks. Is it a great emulator? No, not at all. Could you play games on it? Sure. I mean, some of them are just completely hacked and terrible. A lot of the games on there aren't even legit. But for the most part, it did the job. Which brings us to today. Most of us are looking for something a little bit more refined, something that has a good operating system. And that's where we are now. I have 3 amazing experiences on 3 different handhelds that I want to share with you today. I'm gonna get some groans for this, but the Analog Pocket is an emulator. While it's not necessarily a game emulator because it has an FPGA chip in it, it is actually a hardware emulator. But this gorgeous system is a Game Boy first, a Game Boy Advance second, and every other retro console last. If you want the best Game Boy experience you've ever had, this is the system for you. Mainly because this will play your cartridges. The screen is sharp and beautiful. It has sharp pixels for days. While you're able to load other console systems on this, things like the Neo Geo, the PC Engine, or the TurboGrafx, as is known here in America, even Super Nintendo. For me, this does the Game Boy right. It's perfect. So while I'd like to play other systems on this, I'd rather stick to what it's made for, the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance. It has about a 3-hour battery life and it charges with a USB-C right here. But there are some minor issues with the device. It's a little pricey and it's hard to get. A lot of my friends literally waited a year and change for theirs. And for the price tag, $300? I don't know. If you want one today, you're probably gonna wanna go on eBay. And at the time of this video, you're looking at around $750. The cool thing about it is that you can actually play this on your TV, but you will need to purchase a separate dock for it. And that's gonna run you about $100, if you can find one. And I don't even wanna know how much it costs on eBay. So who is this for? This is for the one that grew up with Game Boy and cherishes the tradition of putting in a cartridge every time they wanna play a new game. What I love about this is it honors and holds the tradition of just playing your cartridges. So emulating any other system on it kind of feels a little cheap. While it's a fantastic emulator, there are more cost-effective ways to do this. Speaking of cost-effective options, the Steam Deck is not one of them. The Steam Deck is actually a handheld PC that runs Linux. You can also install other operating systems like Windows. Now I already see people are gonna go in the comments and say there are other powerful systems on there. Yes, I get it. But this is the one I have, and it's a powerful system. And honestly, for the price, this is a powerful system. And yes, I know there are other powerful systems out there, but I'm talking about this one because I have this one. You can play Steam games on here and install other non-Steam games like Minecraft, even the shaders. So yes, there are others like this one, probably better, but more expensive. So it has about a 3-hour battery life, depending on the game that you're playing. But what I like about this is that you can charge it with a charging brick like this one from Anbernic. And I love this one because it attaches magnetically. So for me, for the price and the power, this one is king. So now let's talk emulation. EmuDeck is absolutely insane. I can't even count the amount of systems that this thing can play, all the way to today's generation of games. So power is not an issue. See, but I'm all about the good oldies. So it's an excellent retro game emulator. And you can easily find a dock for it for about 30 bucks and play this on your television. So this right here is my go-to for at-home emulation. I literally just played Mario Party with my kids and it was absolute fun. I'll even travel with this thing if I'm feeling brave because it's an all-generation system. Again, however, the price is an issue. Unless you're looking at this as your one-stop shop for all gaming, it's probably not worth getting. Their lowest system starts at 400 and their highest system at 700, all with different features and capacities in their hard drive. So if you're looking for a system where you just want to emulate old retro games, now I have the system for you. Now before you come at me, there are many great emulation handhelds out there. I just happen to have this one. Okay, so today I have this one, the RG353VS. It's not the V. I'm not reviewing the V today. This is the VS. So I have the gray version here, and it also comes in black. And I like the gray one because, so this thing is showing off a 3.5-inch IPS display at around 640 by 480, I believe. It has an RK3566 quad-core 60. If you want all the stuff, it's down below. All I know is this thing has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and it's running Linux under the hood. I know the V version has Android, I believe. You have an option for mini HDMI, so you can play this on the television, and it eliminates the purpose for a dock, so no extra spending. It's not touchscreen, so DS games, it's not impossible. You can still move it with this little joystick here. With all the buttons on it, you can play PlayStation, N64, and Dreamcast. While I do have to say it's not the most comfortable way to play these games, it's still doable and it's perfect for travel. I have to say I am an advocate for holding on to the history of our games. With these tools, it allows us to discover new games that are either hard to get, hard to find, or too expensive. Let's be real, today's secondhand games, they're just ridiculously expensive for no reason. So this promotes the preservation of retro gaming. One system I'm looking at is the TurboGrafx. So this will give me a chance to learn and love that system. You can get this today for $108, and if you go in the link below, you'll save 15%. Every item, system, and even the skins that you see in this video today, I'll have links in the description down below. Now it's your turn. Post in the comments down below, what is your favorite handheld emulator? If you own any of these systems, what are your favorite features? I want to know. Let's have a discussion and get to know each other. If you got this far in the video, please like and subscribe. And if you share this video, that's a huge one-up from me. I appreciate you so much. Now see you in the next video. Vamos, let's go.
You just had the absolute nostalgic pleasure of watching GameBoyZero. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that bell button for notifications on his latest uploads.
Did I say many?